Hi, I have a few things that I'd like to say about the United States Senate race in Connecticut, and I've titled my piece, "To My Connecticut Yankee Neighbors." First, I know that I am on thin ice getting involved in a political race in Connecticut when I live in New York. I understand that New Englanders do not cotton much to outsiders, advising them on matters that should be none of their business. Yet, I could not stand by without saying something. And in the end, you Yankees of Connecticut will vote your conscience. I just believe that what I have to say is worth your consideration. I will get right to the point. Mr. Blumenthal is not a man of proper character and should not be elected to the United States Senate. Now, more than ever, Washington needs people of character who will put service to our nation before their own ambitions. As you know, Mr. Blumenthal lied about serving in Viet Nam. He lied about serving in a combat zone, and even the New York Times editorialized that there are few sins less forgivable in American politics than claiming unearned military valor. Now, the passage of time and his supposed apology have quieted this controversy, yet I believe that this particular event should define his candidacy for the United States Senate. Far from deserving a pass on his mistake, Mr. Blumenthal deserves condemnation and a Yankee boot into political oblivion. How, my fellow Yankees, have we arrived at a time in our history where lying about combat service is given a pass in modern politics? American blood saturates the soil of lands from one corner of the globe to the next, as men and women sacrificed for a cause greater than themselves. Mr. Blumenthal, who received and accepted 5 deferments that allowed him to stay out of harm's way, never risked his blood for a greater cause, and his blood remains coursing through the body of a man who would see himself aligned with the true heroes of American history. Here is my truth. You do not attempt to harvest votes at the expense of those who live in fields of hollowed graves around the world. And not once but several times he lied about something that no one should ever lie about: serving in a war zone. It was no slip of the tongue, and if you look closely, his apology was no apology. Secondly, he lied to prop himself up and to make himself be the person that perhaps he wishes to be, rather than the person he has become. In other words, he sees himself in a false way, which means that he does not know who he is, nor what he stands for, except for what he thinks others want him to be. We need politicians who know who they are and are comfortable with who they have become. A person of character seeking elective office would never, ever lie about serving in a war zone. And I believe that 99.9% of all the people who have served our nation would agree with that statement. Moreover, most Americans who have never served in uniform would also agree that one does not claim to have stared down the enemy unless it was true. It is a line that no person would ever cross, not a person with character, that is. My best friend Gary Simonson, who served in the Air Force during the Viet Nam War, said to me the other day, "I have never called myself a Vietnam veteran because I did not serve in Vietnam." Our neighbor Bob Edel, who served in the Army and did serve in Vietnam, said, "I would be happy to explain to Mr. Blumenthal the difference between the two words, in and during." As a people, we often wonder how we have strayed so far from the values that we are certain built a great nation. Daily, we see how those values have been dumbed down, and we yearn for a return to the rock-solid character of our American spirit. We wish for ways in which we can make a difference, teach our children what is true and proper, and we hope for a time to draw our line in the sand. You, Yankees of Connecticut, have such an opportunity before you. I can say it no more clearly than to reject this politician who sought personal gain by lying about himself. I suppose I could be cynical and say, so what if we get one more lying politician in Washington? But I am confident that we can agree that what our country needs is change in Washington, D.C. We need men and women of character. Mr. Blumenthal has revealed his character of arrogance and self-importance. He has revealed himself, in my estimation, by telling the gravest lie of all. My name is Bill Jones. My hometown is Sag Harbor, Long Island, and our two states share many ancestors. I love America and feel blessed by God to live in this free country. And in the interest of disclosure, I happen to be a registered Republican, but I have written these words as an Army veteran and as a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. I did not serve in Viet Nam. Mr. Blumenthal may be a nice man, but that is beside the point, for he is clearly driven by his arrogance more than his niceness. We do not need any more arrogance in the Senate, for there is far too much already. What are we doing, Connecticut? Isn't it time to draw a line in the sand? You know, there are men and women dying for our country every day who will never run for the United States Senate. I do not believe that they died so that someone who so easily claimed unearned military valor would be rewarded with such a high honor as serving in the Senate. I hope that you agree, Connecticut. I hope that you give Mr. Blumenthal a good old Yankee boot into political oblivion. Godspeed, and God bless America.